So 2021 is going to be a big year for Cyberpunk 2077. I know it sounds strange, but it's not gonna sound that strange once we're finished with this video. But what's up everybody, welcome back to some more Cyberpunk news, and of course welcome back to the channel. We, theoretically speaking, did not see each other since last year because, well, I also kind of took a break of about a few days. But in today's video I want to talk about a very important topic about Cyberpunk 2077 and of course everything that's been happening behind the scenes since release, with the development, with the hell over at CD Projekt Red, and CDPR's massive comeback planned for 2021. It seems that we have some news from an anonymous developer, of course take it with a huge grain of salt, that kind of goes in a bit more detail about what's happening behind the scenes, and even more so what is CD Projekt Red and upper management planning with the game. And boy oh boy, there are some really juicy details. So according to one disgruntled developer, which shall remain anonymous, the company really shot itself in the foot by trying to keep investors safe and sound, and now it seems that developers are hearing plans for a full-blown No Man's Sky style of comeback that is planned for late June. It also comes into no surprise that the first two patches should come out mid-March, despite what's been said by top executives, and I'm assuming that this refers to the previous announcement from a couple of weeks back where CDPR announced two big patches in early 2021, one for January and another big one in February. So this doesn't fully confirm that, but it could very well be that the first two big patches for 2021 might suffer a small little delay. It goes nonetheless in a ton more detail about the sheer development hell that the team went through in creating the game. Like for example, there's a certain quest in the game that got rewritten more than a dozen times simply because a certain top dog wasn't feeling it, and it eventually ended up just being cut from the final product, but luckily it should come back as a DLC sometimes this year in 2021. This isn't the only instance though, like even the very fact that Keanu Reeves is playing Johnny Silverhand is not something that necessarily originated from inside of the company. In fact, according to this anonymous developer, our original Johnny was way cooler and sounded like a maniac, and of course without trying to hate on Keanu or anything. So the original vision for Johnny Silverhand was something like Foltest from one of the DLCs in Witcher 3, but on crack. So our original Johnny was heavily inspired by David Hayter's Solid Snake from the first Metal Gear Solid, and believe it or not, Cillian Murphy. In fact, the word on the street is that his fee, when talking about Keanu Reeves, was actually manageable, and the need for a star talent actually came from outside CDPR. The executives complied because who the F knows? It sucks. And yeah, the developer goes in and yeah, just explains that he loves Keanu as a person but not as an actor. Personally, I just enjoyed his performance as Johnny Silverhand a ton. I enjoyed every single interaction and second that I had with Keanu Reeves in the game, and honestly I would not switch him with any other character, even though from an acting point of view there's a ton of people who might have done a way better job. Maybe even just like a voiceover artist might have done a way better job, but he kind of fit this role really well in my vision. Now the next topic that is also pretty huge is the cutout content, or content that never made it in the final product. And yeah, we saw this from many of the quests ending too abruptly. Like the game always gives you the impression that there's a lot more to the stories or the places it tries to bring you to, but it kind of just ends all of a sudden as if it was rushed the very last minute and they did not have time to fully implement it. And it seems that that is actually the case. For example, there was supposed to be a huge underground part of Night City that the public never got to see it, but that's because it looked ugly, quote unquote, to the executives according to the paragraph right here. But it was effing awesome according to this developer, and felt as if it was the Malkavian / Nosferatu path in Vampire the Masquerade. So that's the comparison that this developer is drawing, and that's not the only one. I'm sure that the AI and the way it runs is also a big topic of concern to a lot of people. Well, there was a whole AI routine scene with minor gang violence in many of the areas in the game. Essentially a ton of stuff you could just sit back and watch unfold or directly influence, and this includes a ton of the stuff that eventually got censored, like for example kids using all sorts of, I'm not gonna say it, but let's just say substances. I'm not really sure like if YouTube is even going to allow this in a video. There's a ton of other stuff with priests, for example, or side arcs that got cut due to censorship. Oh, and remember that side quests where you get to interact with the max stack officers and one of them asks you if you want to join them? Well, actually that was planned to be a full-blown side quest, but eventually it also got cut altogether, and it's a really big shame because it sounds interesting. So according to the details, we were supposed to actually replace a certain max stack officer, even be able to head over to the NCPD headquarters and maybe even hack stuff in, and we would be able to see the police trying to operate and even arrest people and maybe even like interfere to break down arrests and do other stuff in the missions. It actually sounds really interesting. It's exactly how I envisioned stuff happening after that mission, but unfortunately it just ends abruptly in the game. This is just one of the examples. You get to talk to an NPC, it tells you that you can join the max stack, and then you never get a message back, you never get a follow-up, nothing happens. Just like how it is, for example, with the River series, where you don't really know what happens with the mayor and the other characters during those crime activities. So I'm actually wondering if all of these were eventually just scrapped because they didn't have enough time to put it in, and even more so if they will make a comeback. I really want to see these back in the game. And there's a ton more examples with scrapped content like this. For example, they scrapped 2 whole arcs because the mission cleaned a save due to a bug with character placement, and I'm pretty sure that this refers to the main story arcs, so we should have had about 5 instead of only 3. We've also scrapped a big portion of the underground and sewers because of bugs. Night City had 3 different types of cabs besides the Vile Fort, and drivers would hold whole conversations and give quests. This also had to be scrapped entirely. I think that we even saw one of the trailers showcasing a cab with an NPC or somebody who was talking to its passengers, which looked really interesting. Also, police pathfinding scripts worked wonderfully until somebody screwed the pooch, but apparently the AI is already being in the fix. Now, what's bigger is the fact that there's other side characters, or should I even say side characters, like important characters that should have made it in the final game too, including Morgan Blackhand, which we talked about a bit in the solo outfit guide that we made about a week ago or so, because he was a major part of the story, even in the Rin story by Mike Pondsmith. Morgan Blackhand's backstory and the nod to the corporate wars were supposed to be in the final game, but the DLC will add a lot to the crazy and cool ideas Mike gave us when we began briefing the project. You guys should have to complete the game by the end of next year. If anything goes well, yeah, it's hopefully going to drop by then. Now, the only other big news that I'm going to cover here is the fact that for the PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones, which currently struggle with performance, there is some good news around the corner. So in the update planned for June 2021, the code for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is getting scrapped and done separately from the PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X. It seems that the PS5 code is an improvement on the PC code due to the awesome dev kit Sony put together for this generation. As far as the Series X goes, it was a mere rewrite of code and load orders. Next gen architecture is actually very good for ports, so hopefully by June we will get to see all of these implementations. The only other news that we should talk about maybe briefly is the fact that the free DLC starts hitting Night City early 2021, so we might get the DLC before the big patch in June. So early 2021 kinda makes me believe this could be sometimes in March, so we could get January and February with a couple of big patches, and then March or April with another big one with the DLC. That could be really awesome, and then in June or by June we will get the big one that hopefully fixes everything and maybe even brings back some of the cut content in the game if the DLC doesn't already. But yeah, this is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.